and welcome to the Pat Sheranian Show, folks. I'm your host, Monica Barbour, sitting in for the lovely Pat Sheranian. And don't worry, she'll be back with you on Monday at noon at the same hour, same station. You're listening to 1480 AM KHQN, and we welcome you. We welcome the audience wherever you are. Also, if you want to watch this, you can do so at www.utahvalleylive.com. Again, utahvalleylive.com is where you can actually watch this broadcast. In studio today, I have a special guest. It is Sophia Monet, and she is a film buff extraordinaire, and we're always grateful for her, and she will be joining me when I start my regular show in January, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. There's a lot of people to thank today, primarily, of course, Kelly, who is in front of me at the board, and Kent of Utah Valley Live, and Pat for allowing us to come in and take the seat for a little bit in her stead, and again, she will be back on Monday. And also the Daily Herald, who announced the new program that will be starting in January. So today in studio is Sophia Monet, and she is a film buff, and maybe at the end of the program I will brag a little bit about who she really is. So anyhow, we're going to talk movies today again. So and every Friday we are going to talk film, entertainment, and movies, and we'll talk about screenwriters and directors and things that are just being released, of which we're going to talk about right now. There's three, actually there's more than three, but we're going to talk about three of the new movies that are being released today. And again, we are sitting here in Provo, Utah, and so wherever you are at, there's different releases for different films and different dates. But the ones primarily we're going to talk about is something that's is being released here. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about Flowers of War. Now, Flowers of War. What do you know about Flowers of War? I should let you.
Christian Bale's in it.
Okay, and that's all she needs to say.
And isn't it about the Japanese invasion of China during the World War, or right before the World War?
Yeah, it was right before war. Right, and then what happens is it's set in Nanking, and it's the war between China.
Now, where is Nanking? Is that like a...
Nanking's in China.
Is it like a city, or...?
It's a city.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the war is between Japan and China, and the invading Japanese come in. It's the Imperial Army comes in to China's capital city, and desperate civilians seek refuge behind the walls of a convent. And John Miller, who is played by Christian Bale.
We were rethinking of In Time last week.
Yes, that's right. And he's an American that's trapped in the he's trapped there, and it's interesting because he takes on the role of a priest and to protect the some of the girls that are there, and it's really compelling. And actually, it is the most expensive film to date filmed on mainland China. I think it cost like $94 million to make, and it is by the director of.
House of Flying Daggers?
House of Flying Daggers, that's it. So House of Flying Daggers is the director. He's the director. He directed that as well. So it should be pretty good. It's a period piece, and
it should be very visually.
It's very
appealing,
it's aesthetic.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Let's see. And it was interesting because I remember Christian Bale also starred in another Asian movie, a film, when he was a little boy.
With Steven Spielberg directed it, right?
Right.
It was
Empire.
It's Empire of the Sun. And I think Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if that was his first movie, but it was one of
one of his first, because he was only like 13 when he did it.
He was young.
He was young.
He was really young. Yeah. And then another film being released today is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows.
And I think that's the one everyone's going to be like all about today. It's probably going to be like number one at the box office, and because it's not a bad thing.
And it's number two. It's number two because they had a first Sherlock Holmes, and there's if you're watching on the screen or online, there's some clips, some posters of it. Yeah. And the interaction between Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law is really interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating the way they actually they interact, and they have really good chemistry between the two.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because it's directed by Guy Ritchie, who directed the first one. Mm-hmm. And I have an interesting story about Guy Ritchie, actually. I was in a film course in San Francisco. I think was it last summer? Sometime last summer. Mm-hmm. And I met a lot of people there, and the instructor had told a story about this young man who was sitting in one of his classes. And a lot of directors have been to this. It's like a 4-day studio workshop. Yeah, thank you. And so he was telling this story about this young man who was sitting next in the front row and next to Sting's wife, Trudy Tyler. I forgot her name. I'm sorry.
I don't know her name.
Anyhow, so they got to be friends. It was Sting's wife and him. And he was telling her about a movie that he wanted to make. So she got interested, and I don't know if he really knew who she was, or I don't know the full story. I don't remember that part of it. But anyhow, come to find out that this was Guy Ritchie, and so she helped him produce the.
Was it his first movie? It was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
That's right, 2.
Not 1, 2.
And so. So that's how, and Guy Ritchie, of course, was the husband of Madonna. Yeah, and so I'm sure he had a little bit of help there as well. But what about Sherlock Holmes? What do you
want to know?
There was a martial arts that he actually did, and about the story behind Sherlock Holmes.
Well,
and again, if you're just joining us, you're listening to 1480 AM KHQN. Thanks.
Well, I'm sure like everyone knows. I mean, I remember when the first movie came out when. There was a big old hubbub about how, like, oh, Sherlock Holmes, he's not an action guy. He doesn't beat people up. But that's not true. Because what we've come to know as the classic Sherlock Holmes is actually just an actor's interpretation. He wasn't originally
you mean in the books?
Yeah, like, it was like when Basil Rathbone played him way back in the early days of cinema and British television and stuff. He just, like, changed... They just made him, like, a strictly... intellectual.
More intellectual, right.
Yeah. But in the original books, Sherlock Holmes actually did get into fights. He was this rough and tough character that Robert Downey Jr. plays, which
seems to actually portrayed it quite too.
Yeah, it's really close to the book actually. And I thought this was fake because I've always heard that there were like the martial arts that they used in the books were not really real, but it turns out that they actually are. Because back in the Victorian ages, there was this new movement called Bartitsu, and in the books it's shortened to Baritsu, but it's like this. It's the Englishman's version of karate, or like
it's an Englishman, a gentleman's karate.
Yeah, so like they would use like their hats and like their canes, and they would like defend themselves with it. And Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the books, actually included it. And I thought that was really cool and very metropolitan of him.
And I'm so glad Sophia is here with me because she is my brain. She's the other half, or more than the other half.
I try.
And the interesting thing about Robert Downey Jr. is that he is actually a martial artist. And so anytime I find somebody who's interested in martial arts, I like that, and it's kind of fun to talk about. And he actually attributes that to his recovery from his drug addictions and his demons, really. And he studies, he practices in
Orange County,
Orange County, and it's called the Dragon Institute. So if you're ever there, you can want to pay a visit. And it's in the Pacific. It's off the Pacific Coast Highway, and it's in Dana Point, actually, in Southern California. And again, he attributes his recovery and
his study of martial arts to
helping him out. Yeah, because in the 90s, Robert Downey Jr. was arrested multiple times for drug and alcohol-related crimes. He was quoted as saying, "It's like I have a loaded gun in my mouth and my fingers on the trigger, and it's like I like the taste of gunmetal," which was kind of interesting. So whether it was driving naked with a loaded gun down Sunset Boulevard or breaking into his neighbor's house by accident, Robert Downey Jr. was out of control, and he really was. And it was really sad because there was a lot of people who really wanted to work with him, but they could not trust him.
He's talented, and as you can see, his recent resurgence to awesomeness, I guess.
Yeah, he's very talented. And then it was in 1999 that the actor was arrested once more and spent the better part of a year in jail. He was such a loose cannon that filmmakers who wanted to hire him were forced to take out massive insurance policies on him or withhold his salary to get the films made. And I don't mean to be laughing, but it's just, he's such a funny guy, actually, when you see him interviewed. And he's such
really
wit.
cool. Like, this morning I was watching a whole bunch of interviews with him, and I'm just like, oh, this guy is so cool.
And he is. He's really cool.
It's really an admirable story. It's really something to look forward to. Like, if he can change the stars, who's to say, like, I can, or like, you can't.
Right. Because he came back literally from his... From his own death that he was kind of, burying himself into, And so he was fired from Ally McBeal after another drug infraction and chose to take a few years off to get his life together, which was perfect for him. And then it was during 2002 and 2003 that he began practicing Wing Chun. It's a form of Kung Fu.
Like everybody Wing Chun tonight?
Yeah, everybody Wing. And he, for which he credits for giving him strength to overcome his addictions. Sometimes referred to as a martial art for the mind, Wing Chun is a powerful new yet old Chinese art to increase focus, concentration, and relaxation. So in 2003, Downey started working again and released a string of well-received movies like the singing detective Fur and Zodiac before landing the key role of Tony Stark in Iron Man, which was released in May of 2008, which they are going to be doing. And I think I don't know if they're filming right now. Iron Man 2.
Is it the third one?
2 or 3, I'm sorry.
The second one came out
Right, this last year. So this would be the third, actually. So with Iron Man, his resurgence is now pretty much complete, and he's on top of the box office again, and he's clean and sober and happily married, and we're just grateful for that because it's sad to see when talent goes to waste in many ways, and it does happen.
We're lucky to have him, honestly, because he's one of those people you just look at and just like admire him, Yeah,
and he could have lost at any time and really, So hopefully he doesn't fall off the wagon and he stays clean.
He's fine.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? So Sherlock Holmes, and also stars, again, it stars, the director is Guy Ritchie, and it stars Jude Law. And the other one what's her name? I have it here. The girl who played the
original.
Naomi.
Her name is Noomi Rapace. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so don't. Yeah.
And where's she from?
She's from Sweden. And she was in another version. We're going to talk about Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. And she was in the Swedish version of that book.
Oh, she was, okay.
Yeah.
Right. The Swedish version.
And that's really what introduced her to, like, even though it was a Swedish movie, it was a major success in Europe. And I'm sure, like, it was a big enough success that it introduced her to Hollywood and stuff. And now she's in Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and she replaces Rachel McAdams, was his love interest
in
Sherlock's
love interest in the original movie. Even though she's in this movie too.
Yeah. So, is she back in? She's back in there.
Yeah,
she is. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I didn't know how much of it. I thought, I heard that she wasn't coming back, and then all of a sudden she is.
She's back. Okay, so I didn't see it on the cast.
Hooray!
Hooray! She's back. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So, and again, let's see. So, the criminal mastermind without a conscience is Professor Moriarty. Is Holmes' worst nightmare? A man who uses his incredible intellect for unspeakable evil purposes. But one more thing I wanted to mention was Guy Ritchie and the way he directs.
He has a really cool directing style.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know how to begin. I'm sure a lot of
he kind of invented this.
Yeah,
he was the first one to start using it this way.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the audience is familiar with how he does his movies. It's like basically the very stylistic, and I don't even know how to describe it. Well, it's like fluid and artistic almost with its.
But I think what they do is that he takes the camera, and of course the cinematographer does this, and cinematographers are geniuses because of the way in which they see the world and the way of which they record the world. And so the cinematographer takes that camera, and they're filming, and they're filming at fast pace, and all of a sudden they slow it down,
and then
they turn the camera. They're turning it around almost with a glide cam or something that they have. It's a chest. It's something that's attached to the chest, and then they glide around, or even on a dolly wheel, and then all of a sudden they slow it down and then they speed it up again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really cool. It makes for quite the impact with the visuals.
And if you've seen the preview for the movie, I'm sure they had like tons of examples of that, like when he's like fighting, and then I think they use it as almost a narrative device to show like the way he thinks. Like everything just slows down, and he's like analyzing.
Excellent point.
Narrative
device.
I just got it right now, and it'll be leaving very quickly.
No, that's very good. That's a very good point. So and it's always fun to talk about these movies. Okay, so another movie that's out today, and at first I thought it was more of a documentary, but it's not. It's called Addiction Incorporated. Now, addiction.
Tell me about it.
Okay. And again, if you're just joining us, folks, you're listening to the Pat Sheranian Show, and I'm your host, sitting in for Pat Sheranian today, Monica Barbour, and my co-host is Sophia Monet, and we're talking movies, and you're listening to 1480 AM KQS. If you can't finish watching or listening right now, you can always do that at UtahValleyLive.com. Again, UtahValleyLive.com is where you can actually view this program or archive it, watch it later. It's better than TiVo. So, and it's free. So, okay. So, Addiction Incorporated is actually it's a true story about a scientist called Victor DeNoble. And it's interesting his name would be DeNoble because we're going to talk about how he was vilified by the tobacco companies. Anyhow, so he's a scientist. Scientist Victor DeNoble became the first whistleblower to reveal the tobacco industry effort to manufacture maximally addictive an addictive product. The tasked in 1980s by a major tobacco company to invent a safer form of nicotine, and one that would decrease the danger of heart failure while remaining just as addictive, so smokers could live and, of course, buy more cigarettes. So DeNoble succeeded, however, but in doing so, he inadvertently created indisputable evidence that nicotine was addictive, something that tobacco companies had long denied. His position was terminated, of course. His lab was closed, and both his research and the safer cigarette were buried in the vaults and kept from the public. So until he broke his confidentiality agreement and became the ultimate whistleblower. So the Addiction Incorporated is about a whistleblower, Victor DeNoble, and about the tobacco company, which it's getting good reviews. So it should be interesting. Again, it's just come out, and we're here, and it's noon, and of course we haven't been to the movies and seen it yet, so can't really say. Some of the movies, and we're going to talk about also the Golden Globes, because the Golden Globes,
the nominations just came out. Yeah,
just yesterday, and it's always interesting to me because every time I see these things come out, I think, where is that movie? I never even seen it before. Or it's not even released, and yet it's nominated. So, and we'll talk a little bit about the MPAA, which is the movie rating system. Yeah, we're going to talk a little about that, too. So, movies to be released between now and Christmas, because we won't be on until January. Movies to be released between now and Christmas are one of them is Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And this is it was, you won't believe this, it's directed by the animator director who made and directed Ratatouille. And so he's a... I
mean, I remember you told me that this morning, and I was like, what? wait, how does, what?
Yeah, I know. So he directed Ratatouille. The director,
it made me more interested. I was just like, oh my gosh, how is he going to make this work?
Yeah, and in fact, they are saying that this is probably it's probably the best. And of course, every year progressively technology gets better and things like that. So then really, how can you really compare what is really better unless you're talking about content and storyline?
I think Tom Cruise did his own stunts in this movie, including when he was like sitting on top of this like gigantic building.
Yeah, and I think he always does his own stunts. Yeah, you know, they try to protect him, but he seems to like to do his own thing. Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, if he can jump on a couch, then he can jump off. And I don't mean to make fun of him. He's really. I think he's intense and lovely. I do.
I think he's cool.
He's cool, and he's passionate about his work and his women. So anyhow, okay. So Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol is an Academy Award-winning director Brad Bird. Ratatouille makes his live-action feature directorial debut. So, and it's It's the fourth installment of the massively successful Mission Impossible series. The Kremlin has just been bombed, and the blame has fallen to the IMF.
Which is like their version of the CIA in the series.
And as a result, the president initiates Ghost Protocol. So, and accuses Ethan Hunt, who is Tom Cruise, played by Tom Cruise, and his team of placing the bomb in an attempt to incite global nuclear war. Now, all this sounds like, whoa, so intense and everything, and obviously it is, because we're talking nuclear war.
Yeah, we're talking about like war
and terrorism and a couple other things. So Ethan, who is again played by Tom Cruise, assembles a new team to uncover the truth by using every high-tech trick in the book. So he's got a new crew, and they're mostly beautiful people and strong and athletic.
And the team is Paula Patton.
Who is the wife?
Who is wife of? He's a musician named Robin Thicke.
Yeah, is wife to Robin Thicke, and they just had a baby.
You think?
Just this last year. Yeah, but go ahead. Anyhow.
Anyway, they have Jeremy Renner, who is going to be in the Avengers next year. Which when it comes out, I am so excited to talk about it in the future. And then it has Simon Pegg, who was in Star Trek and Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which are really
that's right.
funny,
He's really
funny British comedies.
He was also in a Runners movie.
I think it was called Run Fat Boy Run.
Run Fat, yeah. And he's English, I think.
He's British.
English, yeah.
And he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's really, really funny. So he gets a new team, and again, we're talking about Ghost Protocol, the new Mission Impossible movie, and but this time they're on their own supposedly, and they should, and if they should be caught, of course, everybody gets killed. So, so it's going to be out, and I think the stakes are high, life and death, and a nuclear war, and terrorism, and all that goes with it. And I hear it is going to be, or so far, it's the best.
Mission
Impossible to date, and it has some really intense scenes, and it's just high octane. Just hold on to your seat from the time you sit down.
Which means I will be there.
Which means Sophia will be there
in the front
in the next hour.
I will be there in the middle row where I can actually see.
Okay, so then another movie that's coming out between now and Christmas is The Adventures of Tintin. So you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know that much about it actually.
Was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg directed. I think it was his first.
And it's a trilogy. Trilogy.
Really?
Oh,
that's so exciting!
With a computer animated trilogy.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting.
And apparently, it's Steven Spielberg's first computer animated movie, which should be really interesting.
And he's been away for a little while. He's
been producing. He's been producing more than directing, but instead, now this year he's got two movies coming out on the same day, which is Tintin and Warhorse, which we'll be talking about later.
Yeah. So then, so this is the motion picture capture adaptation of Herg's beloved Tintin comic strip. It was a comic strip back in the. Was it the 40s or was it the
30s?
And it's produced by Spielberg and Peter Jackson and Kathleen Kennedy. And I don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is. Do you know?
I don't either.
I've never heard.
We'll have to research and tell you next week.
Yeah, the first installment of a series that finds adventure-seeking Belgian reporter Tintin, voiced by Jamie Bell, and a surly Captain Haddock, voiced by Andy Serkis. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's in Lord of the Rings. He played Gollum. He does all the motion capture and he did the voice for Gollum. He does motion capture.
You do a good Gollum. Do it.
Excuse me.
Watch, go ahead.
Stupid fat hobbit.
That's Sophia's.
The scary moment was brought to you by me.
By Sophia.
Yeah, but yeah, he does all the motion capture. Like he did. He was in King Kong as the cook. There's the surly cook on the ship, and then he also did he did the gorilla King Kong.
Yeah,
and then. I'm sure he's done other things recently.
Yeah, because the hard thing is because sometimes when you see these animated programs or movies, you know the voice.
Yeah, but you
you can't remember who the face is behind that voice.
Yeah, or you see the movements are so lifelike, and they're like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? But in Andy Serkis is one of the premier physical actors, and you want motion capture. So yeah.
So let me see, Andy Serkis. Okay, so he's racing to recover a treasure that was lost at sea 4 centuries ago. Meanwhile, the malevolent Brett Rackman, voiced by Daniel Craig, plays in this.
Oh yeah,
so that's interesting. Is determined to beat them to it. And Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Toby Jones, provided additional voices for the film. And it's always interesting, too. It's always good, too. Right.
So, and that I just looked at this right now, and this film is written by Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish, and Stephen Moffat. And if you're a fan of British television or British film, you'll know Edgar Wright and Stephen Moffat. Edgar Wright was the guy who directed Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in Shaun of the Dead and what was the other one?
I didn't
Hot
see that
Fuzz.
one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Stephen Moffat, if you're like me and watch Doctor Who, is currently the showrunner, the head honcho for Doctor Who right now.
And Doctor Who's good. I don't watch Doctor Who, but I know there's a lot of young kids that really do, or and a lot of people that are following Doctor Who right now. Mm-hmm. And it's some kind of a series out of Britain, and
it's the longest running TV show in history because it's been running since '63 with like maybe just like a little hiatus.
But they're going to make a movie out of it, right?
Really?
I thought did you say that?
I think I heard news that they were going to do that.
Make a movie.
Yeah, and it's going to be done by David Yates, I think his name is, who did the last 2 Harry Potter movies or the last 3 Harry Potter movies.
But is it going to be kind of similar to the TV program, or is it going to be different?
It might be different.
Yeah, it should be.
I'm not sure because the TV program has a very interesting it has an interesting premise where like the doctor who's the main character, who is the doctor in Doctor Who, he can change whenever he's about to die. He changes his physical appearance and becomes essentially another person, which makes it able to run for such a long time. Which it should be.
Oh, I see.
It's going to be an interesting transition from TV to film.
Okay, well that should be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So so that was the Adventures of Tintin.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going on to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Now this is the remake.
It's not a remake, actually, because David Fincher, who directed it, and I think wrote it maybe, said that that they actually just went to the book and adapted their own version.
So that, but wasn't it made at one time?
It was a movie.
Sweden.
It is a Swedish movie. But there are differences in the movies. Mm-hmm. So I hear. I haven't seen it.
Right, because the first movie was made when?
The first movie
in Sweden, so it wasn't American made.
It wasn't. It was Swedish and foreign language film.
Yeah, it was a foreign language film.
Yeah.
But The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I don't know the books, but I think, and I don't know if the story is made more popular because of the death of the author, the untimely death of the author. Before, and you can tell that story.
Yeah. Well, what happened is that Stieg Larsson, I think his name is Stieg Larsson. He wrote Stieg Larsson. He wrote the books. He wrote like the first 3 and then sent them in to get published. Unfortunately, he died of a heart attack before.
And was he young, or was it?
He was I think he was in his 40s or so. He was rather young for a heart attack, or so, I don't know. But I'm not a doctor.
And we will have a cardiologist on.
So there, I will learn
in January. So anyhow, go ahead.
So yeah, he died before they were ever published, before he could see the enormous success of these books.
So do you think the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is made more famous by that, or is it the actual storyline?
I don't know.
Because it's a drama thriller, because it's suspense kind of thriller.
It could be. It could play a factor, but I don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. It could be that just they're good books. I have like the first book at home. I haven't started reading it yet because I have like a pile of things I have to do.
She's got to read, and she's a book.
I'm a book nut.
She's
as
a book
well.
And folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to 1480 AM KHQN here at the noon hour, where you're listening to the Pat Sheranian Show. And don't forget, she will be back on Monday with Julie, and they'll be co-hosting together at the same time. So don't forget, she will be here at noon on Monday. Tune in for that. And if you want to watch this program, you can also do that at UtahValleyLive.com. Again, UtahValleyLive.com is where you can archive, see this later, or just have some fun with some of the things that Utah Valley Live has to show you. So anyhow, okay, so the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Now, before we go any further, I have to tell the audience that this is not a movie you want to go see with the family.
Yes,
it
definitely.
Is extremely intense, and it has definitely earned the R rating that it has. We're only talking about it because it came out today, and it's a big deal right now. Like, it has like the Golden Globe nomination just came out, and Rooney Mara, who plays the girl, the eponymous girl, Elizabeth Salander, she has got a Golden Globe nomination.
Oh, she did. Okay, and we're gonna talk about those
because I think it's partially because like she had such an amazing transformation. Like
yeah,
if you see
you
her
would not
before,
believe how
before her before pictures and after when she's getting ready for this role, you don't even know it's the same person.
Yeah, it looks really creepy.
It's a fantastic transmission, which is
because she looks so sweet and innocent, and then all of a sudden she
has like black hair, bleached eyebrows, multiple piercings.
A mohawk.
A mohawk. Shaved parts of her hair.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's an admirable transformation for a role.
And that's the thing. That's the thing too. So because a lot of actors do, when they do take on some of these roles, they really get into it. And some of them gain weight. They lose weight. Even like Christian Bale has been known to lose up to, what was it, 60 pounds?
Wow. He went from I remember he did a movie called The Machinist, I think. And he lost so much weight, he went down to 130 for a guy who's like over 6 feet, not healthy at all.
Yeah.
And then he did Batman right after that, and he gained it all back and more.
Yeah.
Which is
so yeah,
shocking.
and they make these transformations.
And I think Robert De Niro did that for Scorsese's movie Raging Bull. Where he
gained or lost?
He did both.
Okay.
He came like really like in shape and ripped and to play the boxer, and then like they portrayed him in later life as a like he gained like 60 pounds for it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and he won Best Actor for it.
For that one. Yeah. So a lot of times these actors really take on their roles in a way that
like
is
Johnny Depp.
Like Johnny Depp can do the same thing, and they lose and they gain and they cut their hair and they just they go to the extremes, and then you're just putting on your costume for your role. But anyhow, so so the girl with the dragon tattoo. What is the story? What's the story behind? It's a thriller.
It's a psychological thriller. It's about
It's a discredited journalist, actually Daniel Craig, who's played by Daniel Craig. And a mysterious computer hacker discovered that even the wealthiest families have skeletons in their closets while working to solve the mystery of a 40-year-old murder in the David Fincher. David Fincher is the director of the movie, and it's a remake of a 2009 Swedish. It's not really that old.
Well, that's why I don't think it's a remake, because it's just like it was so.
Oh, I see. So
they're close enough together that they could have been developing on their own, maybe.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because it was just only
Yeah, okay. It's only like 2 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's inspired by the late author Stieg Larsson's successful series of books. And The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo gets underway as the two leads, Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, are briefed in the disappearance of Harriet Vanger, whose uncle suspects she may have been killed by a member of their own family. The deeper they dig for the truth, however, the greater the risk of being buried alive by members of the family, who will go to great lengths to keep their secrets tightly sealed. So, it's family, it's wealth,
intense, but
it's But again,
you don't want to go see this movie. It's probably it does, like, a lot of the times the rating system doesn't really like apply, like, work often. Right. But this is a movie that actually definitely does earn its rated R. It's R rating. Yeah. And it's one that you probably are going to want to see on TV when it comes out in a few years. Yeah. Because there are very intense themes and violence and other things you don't even want to know. Yeah, very disturbing things.
Yeah, but it's getting great reviews again. Yeah. Some, awards and things like that contending. The next movie that we're going to talk about is War Horse, and that is coming out.
Another Steven Spielberg movie.
Another
coming out on Christmas, almost.
Yeah, I think so. And then it's directed by Steven Spielberg. It's an epic World War I drama and details the remarkable bond between a man named Albert, Jeremy Irvine, who's played by Jeremy Irvine, and his loyal horse, Joey. And I don't know if anybody in the audience out there has ever had a pet, and I'm sure you probably have. What a dumb question. And and the thing is, or have ever had a horse, I should say, not a pet. And so horses are amazing as far as their interaction with humankind. They've been around for a long time. They've carried us. They do incredible things under pressure, and they're strong. They're graceful. There's nothing more beautiful for me personally to watch than to see a horse run and gallop, and with their hair flowing, and they're so graceful. It's beautiful, and so if you like horses and you're an animal person, this movie is for you. And it's adapted from a novel by Michael Morpurgo. Yeah, I can't really say it.
I'm sorry. I can't.
And the Warhorse follows a growing friendship between a man and beast as Albert trains Joey, and then follows Joey on an incredible journey across the English countryside after the pair are forcibly separated. Along the way, Joey touches the lives of everyone he comes into contact with, Joey the horse, that is. And including the British and German soldiers, as well as a kindly French farmer and his impressionable grandfather. Later, in No Man's Land, Joey's extraordinary saga winds to a poignant and deeply affecting climax. And it's interesting because there was, I don't know how many hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
You know that story about
World War II. Steven Spielberg, he's done World War II movies and, Saving Private Ryan and all that. And he wanted to do a movie about World War I. And he was just kind of like looking around. And then he heard that I think it was like 9 million horses were killed. 9 million were killed during World War I.
Yeah.
Alone.
And that was in Europe.
And it kind of just inspired him to kind of just like maybe like look for a story involving horses. And then he came across Warhorse, which is a book, and it had been adapted to a stage play. And he thought, well, I guess I'll do this movie. And now you have The Warhorse coming out next week.
And so, that's it. And it looks beautiful as well.
Yeah, it really does look fantastic. And there's an interesting story about the boy who plays the main character, Albert, Jeremy Irvine.
Because he was looking for someone that was...
he was looking for unknowns. And basically, Jeremy Irvine is this young English actor, and he was basically doing commercials and, like kind of like basic actor stuff. And all of a sudden his agent comes up to him and is like, hey, we want you to do this, do an audition for Steven Spielberg. And he's like, okay, I'll go in. And they basically they were casting for like 8 months. And
he wasn't quite sure. He wasn't quite sold on him at first.
Yeah.
It took him like 4 months, and then he went back and revisited that audition tape.
He kind of like had the feeling that he found it, but he wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. So they kept on searching more and more.
And then he came back to Jeremy Irvine, and he was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a really cool story that doesn't really happen to a lot of actors, really.
Yeah, and there's Cinderella stories know that are fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a break right now, folks. We're going to take a commercial break, and don't touch the dial. You're on KHQN 1480 AM, and be right back with us.
Moving? LDSagents.com is a free nationwide service connecting you with over 3,000 real estate agents who understand questions about meeting house locations, ward boundaries, early morning seminary, and family neighborhoods. Buy, sell, or finance with an agent who understands you.
Thanks for listening to our broadcast. Please do us a favor and take a moment to call, text, or email your friends and family and let them know about this show. We're live on this radio station, KHQN AM 1480, and on UtahValleyLive.com, where this show will be archived for later viewing. Also, Utah Valley Live is seeking additional programming for our growing network. Talk shows about religion or politics, how-to shows, and more. Go to UtahValleyLive.com and send us your contact information and the type of show you would like to broadcast. Thanks for listening to our broadcast. Are you looking to create another revenue stream in 2012? Are you willing to put out the effort?
Okay, so you're back again. You're listening to 1480 AM. If you're just joining us right now, folks. And if you want to watch this broadcast, you can always do that at UtahValleyLive.com or go to Pat's website at pat.UtahValleyLive.com. And again, Pat will be back with you, with her guest, her co-host, Julie Curry, on Monday at noon. So today in studio, we have Sophia Monet, and we're talking film. And once we start up my show, the Monica Barbour Show, in January, we will be having Fun Film Friday. And so this is kind of like a spin-off of what we'll be doing on Fridays, which is talking about arts and entertainment. Mostly film. We'll talk about books because Sophia is a book sleuth and nut. And so we'll be talking about a lot of arts. And Fridays is always fun to be able to take off the apron and get having some fun. So anyhow, so again, if you're just joining us, it's 1480 AM. You're listening to the 1480 AM dial here. We're broadcasting live from Provo, Utah, and wherever you're listening to us from, we welcome you and thank you. Okay, so we're talking movies, and we're just finishing up with Warhorse. And again, it's that really is a period piece. It's a beautifully photographed.
It's beautifully filmed.
Yeah, and they took months and painful effort, I should say, to keep the horses safe.
Because Steven Spielberg has said numerous times where he says, like, okay, the priority is we're going to keep these horses from getting hurt. That's the last thing we want.
Right, and there was that's a lot of work when you are dealing with large animals on a set, and to keep them safe. And in the past, our film history does not look favorably on some of the movies of the past, back when film and the industry was just barely growing and creating and filming at the beginning. But yeah, so he took extensive efforts to make sure that these horses were safe and sound, and they performed brilliantly. So okay, so another movie that's going to be coming out before Christmas is an Angelina Jolie movie.
Yeah,
which is
and she directed it. She's not in it. She's directed it.
Yeah, and so she's not in it, and she is the director. It's her directorial debut as well.
And she wrote it too, almost.
Yeah, she wrote and produced it as well. And, and it's called In the Land of Blood and Honey. And it's about a struggle between a war-torn Bosnia, and includes the atrocities of war. It's somewhat of a love story about Danielle.
I think it's Daniel.
Daniel, is it? Maybe that's the way it's pronounced. Yeah. I mean, spell. Yeah. A Bosnian Serb police officer in Ayala, who is a Bosnian Muslim artist, and they both are lovers before the outbreak of the Bosnian War. But the lovers land on the opposite sides of the conflict, of course, because you had the break there between the two factions, and so when the Bosnian War breaks out, they fell on different sides, of course, and so months later, while he is serving in the Bosnian Serb army, he encounters her again. However, it's under horrible circumstances, and he serves as So anyhow, so she's taken from the apartment that she shares with her sister and put into a camp, and it's really a very, very heartbreaking story.
It's even worse for the fact that it's true. These things actually happen. If you research what happened during the Bosnian War. Yeah, it's very tragic.
And much to
putting it mildly.
Yeah, to any war. I mean, that's just we tromp and pillage societies during war. But much to the credit of the director, who is Angelina Jolie, she. First of all, I admire her. I know a lot of people make fun of her or
think she's
bizarre or whatever. But sometimes, we do dumb things, and I don't know if her things that she's done in the past are dumb or not. But I'm not here to judge. But
I think she was very edgy.
She's edgy, but I like to look at people by the fruits that they bear, and some of the fruits that she bears are pretty good ones, because she gives, I think, half of her income to.
Did she? She gave half.
She gives period half of her income. Period. Her annual income to charities and things like that. So she puts her money where her mouth is, and that's impressive in and itself. And she doesn't do it with it on her shoulders. She does it quietly, and so
she doesn't really fluff the feathers.
No, she doesn't.
And I did this. No,
and I think that means more. At least to me as a person, when I see somebody who gives and doesn't boast about it, I think that's really charity and charitable. So the new movie In the Land of Blood and Honey is produced and directed by Angelina Jolie. It's her first. It's a debut directorial. Role for her, and she is not in the movie at all, so you won't be able to see her beautiful face, which she's stunning. And it's based on a true story, and it talks about the Bosnian conflict
back in the 1992 to 1995.
And
so it's really interesting. It's interesting to look at to think that, oh my gosh, I was alive when this happened. When something like
when this was, and there's a lot of things that
going on,
and there's a lot of things that are still going on, as far as wars and things like that. And she still takes to the, she does do a lot of charity in different parts of the world.
Yeah, and I read an article about it recently that she didn't really know much about it, and so she researched and basically just came up with this story because she wanted to tell the truth, the story behind, the true story. and then set like a fictional pair in between the story in the conflict and tell it from their eyes.
Yeah, and it was filmed in location there in Bosnia, and then not only that, it was most of the actors are from Bosnia.
Yeah, and a lot of them were actually alive during the war, so they actually know what will happen. And a lot of them I read, and like in the same article I was reading earlier, they actually sustained wounds and have scars from the conflict, and many of them, if not all, had lost family.
Yeah, almost
people they knew. And
this is the actors they actually portray in the movie, and then also the a lot of the extras and things like that. They were actually in this war. So another movie, and we're going to talk about the MPA, so we're running on. We better hurry. Okay, so another movie that's coming out is Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which is based on a novel by Jonathan Safran Foer, director Stefan Daldry's. Daldry,
I think it's Daldry, and you may have heard of him because he's directed Kate Winslet's movie The Reader. He's directed The Hours with Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman, and he did Billy Elliot.
I did Billy Elliot.
Really? Who we mentioned earlier, Jamie Bell, when he was younger, and it was a big deal for him. It was his big movie.
Yeah, and this movie here stars Sandra Bullock and Tom Hanks, and it's a 9/11 post 9/11 story.
9/11.
9/11 or 9/11. Yeah, I shouldn't say 9. Okay, 9/11 post story, and it follows the journey of a 9-year-old boy as he attempts to solve the family mystery. And 2 years after the father is killed in the towers, the curious boy discovers a mysterious key hidden in a household vase and begins an exhaustive search for the matching lock. And if you have time, take a look at those clips or the trailers for these, because that movie looks really, really incredible. It's really touching. And again, we're talking about Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Already winning some Oscar buzz for Sandra Bullock already. So, and Sandra Bullock's lovely.
I've always thought she was really cool. Like, I remember recently we went to like the gym and we were running on the treadmill inside the cinema cardio place, and they had Miss Congeniality on.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't even need to put my iPod in, and I was just sitting there and like basically like limping because I was laughing so much.
No, she's pretty funny. Yeah, she's funny. But this is not a comedy. It's
not
pretty,
a comedy.
Yeah. And they make her look a little bit older too. I noticed that in the clips.
She's not very glamorous in this movie.
No, not at all. But she is glamorous. But for some reason, there's something they did to her.
Like I think it was like in the preview, you'll see that she has like frizzy hair and.
There's something I think they did to the face, but
and you know what? I think it fits. Like it's probably better than because she's a wife who's grieving,
right,
for her husband,
and she's left with a son.
Yeah,
and so one of the lines that Tom Hanks says, and it's profound, is that things that are easy to find, they're not worth finding. And so, but I can't wait to see this movie. It should be really,
I can't wait
good.
to see what the secret is and what the mystery that he left behind.
Yeah. And he had a close relationship with his son, which was beautiful. It's always lovely to see when a father is in love with the children, because there's nothing more beautiful on the planet, really, when you see a parent in love with their children, and especially this movie depicts that very well with Tom Hanks. So let's see what else. You want to talk a little bit about Hugo. Hugo was released a couple of weeks ago.
It was released on November 23rd, and for our first show I wanted to talk about it, but we didn't get around to it because we just ran out of time. I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah, talk a little bit about Hugo.
Okay. So what really brought Hugo to my attention was that Martin Scorsese directed it, and Martin Scorsese's famous for his really intense, gritty
blood and guts.
Yeah, his cop or like underworld crime dramas.
Yeah, and you would think that it was funny because when I first found out that he directed Hugo, I'm going, what?
I know, that's what I did too. It wasn't like more like, ew, what? It was more like, oh my gosh, this is going to be fantastic. What? And it was a fantastic movie. I mean, like I'm sure you've heard the reviews, and the only thing that's really that I found that was really wrong with it was the fact that it was a little too long for kids.
Yeah,
I didn't mind how long it was.
It was long.
It was 2 hours and 5 minutes, which
But
when you've seen Lord of the Rings, which is like 3 hours long, you come to appreciate those 2-hour movies. You know?
Yeah. But it did seem long. I thought it was longer than that, actually. But then again, I fell asleep because I'm getting old. So who really knows whether it's the movie or whether it's just me.
I think it was just, and also because it was like the first half was really like it's kind of slow, and it was a lot of build.
Yeah, it was a lot of build
to actually get to get all the elements they needed to understand the second half with.
Right. So that the lead-in is for it was building. It was
nice. It was a nice lead-in because I usually when I see movies, the biggest problem I see is that it usually goes way too fast. Like the characters fall in love too fast, everything gets started too fast, and it's doesn't make any sense. It's giving me whiplash, and I appreciate a movie that takes its time in setting things up.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true, and this story deserved it.
Yeah,
because it was
really nice, and it's really interesting and complex.
And again, it's another
intricate.
Period piece.
Yeah, another period piece set in the late 1920s.
Yeah,
in Paris, France, inside a train station.
And it's about which is really interesting because Martin Scorsese wanted to talk about the history of cinema.
Mm-hmm. He's a big proponent of film preservation. He's been supportive of it for like 30 years, and I'm happy that he chose this because it does talk about Georges Méliès, who is one of the first filmmakers, and it gives him an opportunity to talk about things that Martin Scorsese loves. And if you see the movie, you can see that this was a movie done with love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was, and he, and Martin Scorsese, he's a little peanut of a man for starters, but he packs a powerful punch. Anytime you see an interview with him, and I know. I'm surprised that he directs the movies he does. Like recently he did The Departed, which he won Best Director for, and I saw it, and I thought like, wow, it's very interesting that he did that because he doesn't seem like that type of guy. He seems like
he's
really
very
nice guy.
Friendly and nice, and I'd like to like talk to him or something.
But
then he does like these really intense dramas, and
he's intense.
It's the nice ones you gotta look out for.
Yes, definitely. In fact, someone was talking about who was the director that they were complaining about that was they hate to work with him because he takes so many takes.
It's not that they hate to work with him. It's just that he has like it's very grueling to work with him. And it's David Fincher who. And in the past, it was Stanley Kubrick.
I know. What's he directing recently?
David Fincher did The Social Network. He did Fight Club. He did He's coming out with Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
That's right. Okay.
And what he does is that he does like 50 takes. He can do like if you have to do it over and over and over again. And a lot of the times, it's very difficult for actors. Like if you're a certain type that needs like a lot of warming up, then sure that's good. But then there's some actors who like are just there and ready to do it in like the first like 5 takes, and they don't need it anymore. But I can understand how that can be frustrating.
Yeah, so they were
which is nothing compared apparently because I was watching an interview with Robert Duvall recently, and he said that Stanley Kubrick, who did 2001 Space Odyssey and A Clockwork Orange, used to do like 100 takes or like 70 takes, and that just sounds exhausting.
Yeah, your makeup's wearing off at that point.
Your tempers are fraying.
The change behind you, it's now noon.
You're becoming
as opposed
angry.
To filming in the morning.
Days have passed.
Yeah, it's not. It's interesting the way. I mean, when they start taking that many takes, look out. You're in for a long day.
It's intense.
And some extra funding you're going to have to hit up on the on your producers. So anyhow, okay. So so Hugo is a Martin Scorsese film, and you can take the kids to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like it was surprising to me that he directed it because as we previously said, he does scary stuff. And I don't know. I've seen Scorsese movies before, and I think this is one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's
a good.
He's
filmmaker.
one of those.
He's not a legend for that. He's not a legend without reason. Reason.
Right.
And he totally applies everything. All of his skill and ability to this movie, and it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous movie.
And again, he's into film preservation. And if you've ever had any film class, any of the listeners out there know for a fact that when you take some of these film classes, you will be talking about this very same subject.
Yeah, like I'm sure like you'll be talking about Georges Méliès, who is a character in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
And they mentioned the Lumiere brothers who
they did lighting in the camera. I think it was.
Did they invent the camera?
No, they didn't invent the camera. They did lighting. wine, and there was a couple other things. And of course, I'm forgetting about what I already learned. So anyhow, we're going to go a little bit to the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes were actually released yesterday.
Yeah, the nominations.
The nominations were talked about. And, a lot of people don't know about, and maybe listeners already do, what goes on behind that. Now, the Golden Globes is distributed annually by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. It's given both domestic and foreign, it's given in both domestic and foreign categories. The Academy Awards is also known as the Oscars, are the most undoubtedly most prestigious in the world, really. And the Golden Globes are always followed by the Oscars. Sorry,
it's followed by my brain was switching them.
And the first Academy Award ceremony was held in May of 1929. However, the Golden Globes was first. Ceremony was held in 1944. Anyhow, there is a difference between the two. Academy Award is mainly movies, motion picture, and
it's only film. And film. And the Golden Globes include television.
Right, include television. But real quickly, folks, if you're just joining us, again, you're listening to 1480 AM KHQN. And if you want to watch us, you can do that at UtahValleyLive.com. Again, UtahValleyLive.com is where you can watch this program. So many people to thank, as usual. Kelly at the board, Kent for Utah Valley Live, Pat Sheranian for all her glorious works that she does around here. And she will be back again on Monday at noon at the same hour. And we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. But and of course, we're running out of time on these things. But
we'll continue next week.
We'll continue next week. And if you want to look online, you can always look at the Golden Globe nomination. Just Google it, and it talks about the various pictures and performers
and nominees and if you're interested in what they're doing, you can look those up too.
Yeah. And a lot of changes going on here at 1480 AM. A lot of new programming, a lot of people to thank again as usual for working in our behalf and putting these things together. My programming will be coming out in January 2nd Monday from 9 to 10. We weren't too sure on the hours, but 9 to 10 is when the Monica Barbour Show will be coming or airing live. I will be having on Mondays a professor from Brigham Young University, a political scientist on Mondays, which is our politics and science and pop culture Monday. And he'll be co-hosting with me every Monday. And then on Tuesday, we will be having a two-for Tuesday where we introduce the public to our neighbors, introducing our neighbors in business to and the faces behind the businesses that are owned here locally. And then on Wednesdays, we are talking health and fitness, and I have a fitness health extraordinaire. I don't know, but Jill Nix will be co-hosting with me a couple of Wednesdays every month, and she is a professional fitness trainer, and you will not want to miss our conversations with her. Thursdays, I will be joined by every Thursday by a psychologist, PhD psychologist who is in family therapy. We'll be talking Relationship Day and various statistics and things like that, who will be joining me on Thursday. And, of course, Friday we will be talking Fun Film Friday here with Sophia, Monet. And incidentally, I wanted to brag a little bit about Sophia before we let you go. So Sophia is a student at BYU. And she's a trained actress as well, and also has been in theater, and we're grateful for her.
When I was in elementary school, not recently.
No, well, but she's been to the Actors Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. She's trained there, and she's also trained in Santa Monica at the Joan Baron Brown's acting studio, and it would be lovely if we can get one of them on here, but we'll see. We're far away. And so anyhow, but Sophia also has a painting, because she's a student at BYU, and it's in the HVAC. So in the HVAC,
on the top floor.
On the top floor, if you want to see Sophia's painting, she's an artist as well. So again, folks, if you're just joining us, we've had a wonderful time, and we're so grateful that you have joined us today. And don't forget, this is the Pat Sheranian Show, and we're hosting just today so we can, we kicked her out of the studio. We want her to have a day off and have some fun with herself and go visit some of her friends. Anyhow, so again, join Pat again on Monday with Julie Curry, and and all the things that they talk about. They're a fun pair. And again, join me. The next time you'll be seeing me is at 9 o'clock on January the 2nd, on Monday. Again, thank you so much. This is a Fun Film Friday. That'll be our Fun Film Friday every Friday starting in January. And thank you so much. This is 1480 AM KHQN.